A country that went from utter devastation and an almost entirely agricultural economic model to one of the largest economic powers in its region and the world. This is the case of South Korea. However, despite being known for Samsung, technology, and its problems with the North, this country has a lot to offer. That is why today we present to you South Korea. Let's start. 1. South Koreans are born 1 year old. And no, I'm not talking about them having some genetic malformation that causes Korean women to get pregnant for a year, or that they have superpowers or time machines. It's just that in South Korea, age is often measured differently. When a baby is born, they are considered to be 1 year old, and on January 1st, all Koreans add 1 year to their age. So if you were born on December 31, just 1 day old, your official age would be 2 years. Curious, isn't it? 2. For a while, the South Korean song Gangnam Style by South Korean PSI was the most watched video in the history of YouTube, and by far too. However, the moment came when it was surpassed by, guess which one? Yes, the more than recurrent Slow Down. Although after it, there have already been several videos that have surpassed PSI's work. 3. If you're traveling to South Korea, it probably wouldn't hurt to bring your deodorant from home, as it's very hard to get it there. And it's not that Koreans don't have hygiene, but what is true is that due to their genetics, sweat doesn't smell, so they have no need for deodorant, and if there's no demand, well, it doesn't sell. 4. In this country, as in other East Asian countries, there is something called tetraphobia, a fear of the number 4, as it is pronounced almost the same as the word death. That's why most buildings, especially hospitals, go straight from floor 3 to floor 5, or put an F where the 4th floor should go. 5. South Korea has very low birth rates, as do many other developed countries. However, contrary to what happens in other countries, the more children a couple has, the more taxes they have to pay. Sounds a bit counterproductive if they want to increase the birth rate, don't you think? 6. They are obsessed with their physique. This has spawned a huge cosmetics industry, one of the largest in the world, and virtually the entire population puts on some form of makeup, including men. This superficiality is increasingly becoming a serious social problem in the country. 7. In addition, cosmetic surgeries are something of the most normal. To the point that teenagers ask for operations for their birthday, there are people who have operations several times because they are not completely convinced by the result, or even ask you in job interviews or meetings between friends what is the fundamental reason why you haven't had that ugly nose fixed, and they say it very seriously. 8. South Korean food is strange. Their cuisine is very varied, as Koreans eat everything. They love spicy things, so kimchi, a fermented cabbage, is their most typical dish. 9. Among the various delicatessens of Korean food are live octopus. As you can hear, it may not be the most common in Seoul, but if you go just a couple of kilometers outside the capital, you will see it in most markets. Just open your mouth and take a quick bite before Mr. Octopus gets the urge to choke you with his tentacles. 10. One of the most famous myths about Korea is that they eat dog. This is not entirely true, but it is partly true. Let me explain. If you ask someone from a big city, they will probably be as disgusted or more disgusted by the idea than you are. However, in some rural areas and smaller towns, they do eat a popular soup made from this animal known as bosintang, as well as various meat dishes called bulgogi, although this practice is becoming less and less common. 11. South Koreans are the world's largest consumers of alcohol, according to World Health Organization data. Their national drink is soju, made from fermented rice liquor. It is the world's best-selling alcohol, and it is really cheap. It usually has an alcohol content of over 20 proof. 12. Still on the subject of alcohol, in this country, it is a very serious offense to refuse when you are invited for a drink. Also, it is very common for bosses to get their employees drunk when they go out drinking after work. 13. Generally, in South Korea, the color of the cars depends on your rank in the company. It sounds strange, but the vast majority of the population complies with this. Lower-ranking employees use white cars, middle management use gray, and bosses or senior managers use black cars. Try looking for yellow or blue cars in Korea, and you will realize how few there are in comparison. 14. Driving is not something they are too good at. Despite the fact that almost all cars have automatic transmissions and that the roads are generally in pretty good condition, This country has the second highest number of road deaths per year. There must be a reason for that. 15. Ajomas are some older women in South Korea with the strength of a sumo champion and the toughness of a mobster. Well, I may have exaggerated a bit, but the truth is that these women are scary people despite their appearance of helpless and harmless grannies with their distinctive visor. 16. In this country, you will always feel watched. And I'm not talking about the streets being armored with police. In fact, there are very few. I'm talking about the countless surveillance cameras on the streets. They are everywhere. Maybe that's why the country is so safe. 17. Pop, or Korean music, is a real craze in the country. Millions of young people love this music to the point of fanaticism. Generally, it is sung by large groups of young people, both male and female, and advertising for their concerts is everywhere. 18. Something similar happens with Korean dramas, or doramas. Comedy or romantic youth series that number in the thousands and produce great admiration among their fans. 19. These last two Korean trends are increasingly expanding internationally, with fans all over the world. As a result, some Korean bands are making big international tours, something that was unthinkable for them a few years ago. 20. Korea is not a very religious country, as much of the population considers itself agnostic or atheist. However, almost a third of the population is Christian, which is very unusual in this part of the world, and their churches are very unwelcoming. 21. Mobile phones are like another part of Koreans' bodies. It is one of the societies with one of the highest rates of addiction and dependence on phones and the internet in the world. 22. Bye. South Korean society is one of the most consumerist in the world. That is why they have so many gigantic shopping malls, and many shops are open until well after midnight. 23. In South Korea, there is a lot of pressure to find a partner, and if you are over 30 and not married, everyone will think very badly of you, that you will never find a partner, and that you are past your prime. That's why it's very common among young people to go on blind dates in groups to eat, and, as it couldn't be any other way in this country, to drink and drink even more. 24. Never write a name in red ink in this country. It is the color they use to write the names of the deceased, and they believe that it is very bad luck and a gesture of luck and is a rather serious gesture of discourtesy. 25. There are a multitude of interesting festivals in this country. One of them is the Boryong Mud Festival, in which various curious activities take place, such as muddy wrestling matches, massages, photographs, races, and it lasts 10 days. And that's all for today's video. Which of these facts did you not know? Which one did you find most interesting? Leave it below in the comments. If you liked the video, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like. It helps me to continue with this kind of content. Also, if you want more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the little bell to know when I upload something new. Thank you very much for watching the video until the end, and I hope you found it surprising and interesting. See you soon.